Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, the number one source for news, analysis, and discussion on the Detroit Red Wings, the NHL, and all things hockey. Here are your hosts, Ryan Hanna, Brad Crisco, and Evan Lopsinger.
Dominic Shine, certified dude. Not that it was ever in question, but absolutely a guy. That's an advertisement for Winged Wheel Podcast night with the Grand Rapids Griffins right there. Like full wind-up clapper on the shootout. Was it hash marks?
It was pretty in tight.
Hell yeah, man.
That's the energy the Red Wings need right now.
It
feels like the vibes are the complete inverse of one another right now.
We love the events with the Red Wings and the Griffins just the same, but I am happy that the next one is with the Griffins. It feels like we're entering a little bit of a period. Hopefully it's a short one, but a little bit of a period of figuring out in Detroit right now as the games and the miles have racked up, and all you have to do is look west and you see Dominic Shine full wind up in the shootout to know where the vibes are living. That's a good point. Well, Winged Wheel Podcast night with the Grand Rapids Griffins, Saturday, January 17th, griffinshockey.com/WWP. Get your tickets, go see Dominic Shine and the rest of the Griffins, get an autographed, co-branded Winged Wheel Podcast and Grand Rapids Griffins puck, signed by a mystery Griffins player, get access to the pregame live recording of the show featuring head coach Dan Watson and other Grand Rapids Griffins and special guests, all of that and lots more. Once the tickets are gone, they're gone, so go get them. And let's jump into it because the Red Wings have still given us quite a bit to talk about, and there's some figuring out to do on this show as well. So folks, welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk to you about all things Detroit Red Wings hockey, the world of the NHL, and lots more. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
On this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we're going to be talking about the loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then the loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the similar storylines across those two games and the fallout after that, which has seen a massive shakeup in lines that we've seen in practice today. John Leonard being called up, conversations on Larkin and Raymond, on the rookies, and whatever else we get into before some NHL news, international hockey news, and more before we jump into overtime. Very quickly, patreon.com/wingedwheel podcast if you want to support the show. You get access to benefits like our bonus overtime episodes, which record right after these main ones. We let loose, we have fun. You get outtakes, you get bloopers, which we had a few of to try to start this show. Evan did suggest that we reconvene tomorrow because it wasn't going so hot. That was my doing. You also get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord, and you're automatically entered into all of our giveaways with an opportunity to enter into a giveaway of 2 tickets to every Detroit Red Wings home game going directly to our Patreon supporters. So patreon.com/wingedwheel podcast for all that and more. So the sky's not falling. I want to open with that because it's going to be a little bit of a tougher, analysis than we've had in recent episodes because December was unreal and January has started off with 2 losses that looked pretty rough. But I just want to open this by saying the sky isn't falling. The Red Wings played, I think, in like 10 calendar days, 5 games. And those calendar days included, at least 2 bank holidays with Christmas Day and January 1st, New Year's Day, and obviously Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
And they had to play Sidney Crosby, who goes to bed at 9 o'clock, only had water on New Year's Eve.
Whatever that guy on Twitter does that he tries to age backwards, he does weird stuff with his son.
He needs to spend 10 minutes with Sidney Crosby.
I'm not sure he'd survive it, but yeah, that's the fountain of youth right there. So if ever there's going to be a team that was going to be worn out at any point in the season, it feels like the Red Wings right now. So keep that in mind during this entire conversation. But man, New Year's Day game, that was excusable. You understood why that happened, and that was the kind of game that you expect, and you're actually even impressed that they came away with a point and an opportunity to win. The game on the 3rd against the Penguins, that was for my money their worst performance of the year. We're not even going to go game by game here. We'll break it all down for you, but it's essentially the same storyline for both, which isn't good because the second one they should have had a better response.
The biggest indication for me how bad that game was Hank and I were in our hotel room killing time between his games, watching that game on the 480p television that every hotel has. he was getting visibly mad. He just loves hockey. He never gets mad at anything with hockey. He's just happy to be there. He was pissed.
It's like those red pixels suck today.
Pretty much. And yeah, I'm happy you led with the preamble of 5th game in 10 days, holidays, travel, et cetera, et cetera. There is something to be said for that. The only slight pushback I give on that is, yes, that is probably valid to be off your game. Not valid for that off your game. I agree with you. I think that was from an effort level, eye test, boomer window, give a crap meter. The second game specifically was probably the worst of the year. It was a tough watch.
Yeah. So the first game, Detroit ends up losing 4-3 in overtime. They had an early power play. They did nothing with it. And then Sidney Crosby scored twice before the first 6 minutes were gone.
If I was a betting man, that Sidney Crosby anytime goal would have been a lock.
He's automatic, man.
Yeah, it's insane.
JVR gets one back at the end of the period, which seemed ridiculous at that point. Like the fact that Detroit was only down 2-1 at the end of that period. It was off a Kasper shot on the power play. Edvinsson picks up the assist. Andrew Copp scores from Sherratt and Kane in the second period to tie the game.
Those were some generous assists, given how that one ended up in the net.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Sherratt dumped it in, and it was one of the goals that's in like the blooper section of Don Cherry's Rock'em Sock'em Hockey. Off the stanchion, weird bounce, goes right in front, and then Copp buries it. So generous, but we count those. Pittsburgh goes up 3-2 with under 5 minutes left, and then Alex DeBrincat on the power play from Raymond and Larkin ties the game, and we're going to overtime. In there's a goal that was overturned because Emmitt Finnie was offside by like one of Brad's hairs on his head. Pittsburgh challenged the goal. It was successfully overturned. I heard Brad scream from my house. Unfortunate.
I will say, there has been progress. Now, whenever one of those goals, and not just in Red Wings games, in any game, one of those goals happens that's taken off because of literally a quarter of an inch. And I hop on my soapbox online and go, where's the just get it right crowd now? Are you having fun? Are you enjoying this? There's no pushback anymore. It feels like the hockey world's pretty united in how ridiculous this is, and it was a mistake, and the NHL needs to change something. So I will say, it feels like in one of the very, very rare instances, the hockey world is united. There was actually 2 things that united the hockey world this week. It's a rare, rare week. 1, everybody's done with the offside reviews, and 2, Brady Tkachuk got knocked the F out with a 1-punch sucker punch, and everybody was like, that's good.
They're actually retiring Logan Stanley's number across the league.
In Toronto first, believe it or not. That he got a right in the button too.
Hey, we'll talk about it more later, but if you're going to start all this crap and then turn your head when it's about time to go and try to get out of it, eventually someone's just going to say...
You're going to find a bully who's just finally bigger than you.
Someone's going to go, I've seen what they suspend for. I might get a game. I'll take that deal. You take that deal?
That was the moment of, hey, we're going to fight. No, I don't want to. It wasn't optional.
Anyhow, so that goal was called back. The terrible part about that being called back, other than just what a painful way for it to happen, is that was a Lucas Raymond 5-on-5 goal. He needed that, man. We needed that. Please. Pittsburgh went ahead. Detroit tied it again from DeBrincat, and they head into overtime, which, again, felt like a win in and of itself. Not that you're just signing over the loss, which Detroit did lose in overtime. Chris Letang scored from Crosby and Rust, but still, they walked away with a point in a game where they were the worst team. Not that Pittsburgh was great. The only reason it went to overtime is because Pittsburgh wasn't great, but they were the worst team in that game. And you're like, wow, you walk away from the New Year's Day game back-to-back with travel. Again, 5 games in 10 days, including playing on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day back-to-back. You'll take that point. That was also Pittsburgh's, 3rd consecutive game against a team that was on a back-to-back while they were rested or something to that effect.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it must be nice. I also want to go back and say, every time this happens, that was another offside review where if Ken Daniels' proposal for offsides was put into play, like those calls, it opens up more ice and that puck would have been onside. So just putting that out there. I know it just kind of moves the line technically and literally, but it allows for more workable zone. So that, just for the record, Detroit gets a point. You need a better response, but you're like, wow, we have a point. You need a better response. And how do they come out at home this time on Saturday against the same team? Down 2-0 in the first period.
Could have been worse.
It should have been worse. It's a miracle that it was only 2-0. DeBrincat scored in the second period, and that, again, like they go in down 2-1 after 2, and you're like, how does that even happen? They were being outplayed so thoroughly. It took them, 13 minutes to get their first shot on goal. In the first period, they had 5 shots on goal.
And then they got a lot more shots.
No. Well, I mean, cumulatively across the next 2 periods, a couple more shots because they had 5 and then 4 shots on goal in the second period. And then they closed it out in a game where they were down 1 with 3 shots on goal in the third period. And I think almost nothing for the last 15 minutes or so.
And you know what the craziest thing of this, all of what you just said? We're one Alex DeBrincat post away from the Red Wings being in that game.
Yeah.
Like taking the lead. Like it could have completely changed. Like Pittsburgh let Detroit hang around, and that was a pitiful effort by the Red Wings from top to bottom. There was a world where they squeaked out a point or two.
Well, they did squeak out a point from that first game. And you got to think, Andrew Copp's fluky goal, Chris Letang forgetting to skate and just letting DeBrincat go down on a 2-on-1. Those were 2 gifts the Red Wings were given. Like, they didn't earn almost any offense at all. It was bad. And again, it's important to not panic and change the entire narrative of a season over 2 games. But this first period problem they have, where they have scored the second fewest goals in the entire NHL in the first period, and the fact that they fall off, I shouldn't even say that they fall off, when they fall off, that it's this bad, it's concerning. This team has a motivation problem. This team has, I don't know what to call the root of it, but when you are that bad out of the gate consistently, and then when things don't go your way in a game, you fall off a cliff this hard, because I would agree that Saturday game, probably the worst of the season, but they've had a lot pretty damn close to it.
The moment a team kind of has the game plan against the Red Wings, and I think Pittsburgh did, right? Like they didn't generate a ton of their own offense or dominate the game that way. What they did was they clogged up the middle. They really made the transition game impossible for Detroit, and they don't excel in that space. So the moment they get jammed up, then Detroit kind of falls apart at the seams. That's a normal thing in the NHL. Like good teams will game plan for other teams, and if they can, they'll execute some kind of opposing strategy. And great teams or good teams that want to be great teams, they adjust or they overcome, whether it's brute force by saying, yeah, I'm going to keep playing the same game up the middle of the ice, or, okay, you want to clog up the middle? Well, then we're going to forecheck so damn hard, we're going to give your defenseman hell, and in the third period, you're going to fall apart kind of thing. Detroit didn't do either. They just, it's like they were so feeble. There's no heavy forecheck to offset the fact that they couldn't get any kind of clean zone entry. Everyone looked disconnected. The Larkin line, that was the most succinct domination of Detroit's top line by an opposing top line I've seen in a long time. It's by one of the greatest players of all time who doesn't seem to have lost his step in Sidney Crosby. I know, but they've shut down the McDavid line for good stretches of games before, so you know they have the capacity to play well. Larkin and Raymond look god-awful at 5-on-5. Like I fully agree, Brad. You're not going to win every game. January is not going to look like December. Just statistically speaking, Detroit can have a great January and it still won't mathematically be the same as December. There's going to be slumps. There's going to be duds. You're going to be worn out after this many games over the holidays, especially. But the response after the loss on New Year's Day has to be better. Even if it turns out to be 0 standings points, even if it's still a regulation loss, that kind of effort, that's the part that is a little red flag. Not the kind of red flag where you're throwing in the towel and saying, okay, we're done. The season's over. This team actually sucks. They don't deserve their points. But it's the kind of thing that if this team wants to be a serious team and make it through the toughest part of the season and through March and April and play in the playoffs, you have to start games on time and you have to respond better even when the odds are stacked against you. Because the underlying point of all this is every team goes through this. Detroit's not special. The schedule makers don't hate Detroit more than everyone else. Every team will go through something like this. The good ones rise above it.
Pittsburgh had to play the same games that the Red Wings did. So, yeah, you don't want to make excuses. It's a long season. Yeah, we could be looking back at this in April and it's like, oh, this was irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. But I think the underlying messages you guys highlighted are concerning. It's like, if the Red Wings are going to be bad, they may as well put in the effort. And if the effort's not going to be there, that's a big red flag. And Pittsburgh's a bad matchup to have on New Year's Day because they just get themselves organized. And like Sidney Crosby, he's just the ultimate problem solver. And the first goal that Brian Russ scored was just exactly the problem the Red Wings have. They just clogged up the middle. Emmitt Finnie made a brutal turnover. Pittsburgh turned the puck back the other way and into the back of the net it went. Like, yeah, I'm trying not to get too caught up in the past two games because there is so much of a season left, and luckily it wasn't against an Atlantic opponent. But it's concerning. Next game's effort is going to be a real tell of where this team's going.
And the one thing where I think I differ is I don't view it as a motivation thing exclusively. And I don't think it's a lack of want or drive. But where I agree is that it doesn't actually matter, because if you're not showing up in the first and if you can't figure it out, that's a problem. Whatever you want to point to as the root cause, or whether it's like the boring answer of just an accumulation of exhaustion and, lines are getting matched against 2L and being stale and the wrong guys are off at the wrong time in terms of their play, whatever it might be, you can't have it. You can't keep not starting games on time or not being prepared or constantly putting yourself on the back foot. And yeah, I fully agree. Like, you don't make broad sweeping proclamations about, the rest of the season, but you need to nip these kinds of losses in the bud. There's going to be losses. It's not that you have to nip losses in the bud. Everyone's going to lose games, but these kinds of losses. And I mean, who else agreed more other than Todd McLellan, who you only had to watch a little bit of the last couple of games to say, yeah, these lines need to shake up. Larkin and Raymond and Finnie or Kasper, whoever they had up there temporarily, they were doing nothing 5-on-5. Larkin and Raymond especially are shouldering a lot of this blame right now. You needed to shake things up and try not to touch the second line. Well, DeBrincat, Copp, and Kane stayed together in practice today. Kasper, Larkin, Soderblom, JVR, Compher, Raymond, Finnie, Rasmussen, Appleton with Danielson as the extra, and then the D pairs of the D pairs. And I think that it's a lot, but it makes sense. Just before we hit record here, John Leonard was also called back up from the Grand Rapids Griffins, which is very notable, and I also agree with, because he was, one of the guys who I thought was playing the right way a lot while he was up and was doing the kinds of things where even when the Red Wings were having a bad game, you could count on him to, not get lost in the negative narrative. So we'll see where he factors in. But yeah, Larkin and Raymond split up. Kasper put up there. Soderblom gets back in. Danielson as the extra kind of makes sense, unfortunately. And I think Leonard will get a look too. Leonard can play 2 more games. And then after that, he will need waivers if he plays a 10th to go back down. So that's also of note.
I think the lines feel very merit-based at practice today. The second line, now the top line, I think is very much deserving of that spot. Like, that line has kind of been the only engine at 5-on-5 lately, it feels like. And seems like they're trying to split up Raymond, Larkin, Finnie, trying to get those guys going a little bit. And I'm not sure the message is however you're playing is where you're going to slot in the lineup, but it sure felt like it after practice today.
I fully agree that it is. Like, this was meant to be sending shockwaves through the room, but also, like, hopefully through the ice, because whatever they had wasn't working. Like, it's dual purpose here. And this is you better hear this loud and clear message. Nobody is safe. We'll see who gets the most minutes in the next game as well.
And it's not to say Danielson as the extra has been the worst player on the team. Like, I think everybody would want a little bit more from Nate Danielson, but there's other guys too who are struggling. Like, they need Marco Kasper to get going. Like, does he deserve to be playing that high up in the lineup? No, but they know if they can get him going, they know the production he can provide. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things shake out next game.
It's a different strategy, which I like at the surface of. They were coasting early in the season on one line providing all the offense. They're still coasting on one line providing all the offense. It just changed which line it was.
Yeah.
So this, at least with Larkin on one line, you keep DeBrincat and Kane together, Raymond on another line. Theoretically, that should balance out the offense. Now, that's asking a lot of Soderblom and Kasper to be able to keep up with Larkin. I have liked what I have seen from Soderblom in flashes this season. We've seen him have those moments of, okay, this is a 6'8" forward with skill who can utilize that, and then he disappears for 3 games. Hopefully, this is the motivation for him to do it a little more consistently. And honestly, it's a small thing, but it's a big thing. I genuinely, truly hope just Marco Kasper walking up to the whiteboard pregame, seeing his name on the top line, just seeing it there. You know, you guys have seen that before. You walk in, you look, oh, I'm on
Must be an error.
Yeah,
Spelling error.
Yeah, I'm on the top line. I'm on the top power play. Like, that gets guys fired up who don't normally play there.
You guys can read?
I figured out what number I am.
Okay.
But hopefully, again, when the team plays this bad, that like they've played the last 2 games, this is the perfect time to, for lack of a better term, try shit. Just throw everything at the wall, see what sticks. There are going to be guys in the current roles that they've been assigned that are going to struggle, and it's going to go horribly. But even if it just gets 1 or 2, or if we're lucky, 3 guys going, worth it, right? Like, if Raymond sucks on the third line, Larkin's putting up the same production, but Kasper all of a sudden has 4 points in his next 7 games, massive success. You know what I mean? And as long as they don't look like that we saw on Saturday again, massive success. You don't need this lineup to go from scoring 1 to 2 lucky goals a game to 6 or 7. Just a few more. Just get a couple guys going. Worth the experiment.
That's like, when it's so many different parts of the roster failing at the same time, it hurts the rookies. Like, I'm not saying Finnie has no part to play in the top line being stagnant at 5-on-5. I've been saying the last few episodes I would actually like to see a different look, even though it feels unfair to Emmitt Finnie, who's been doing what he's been asked to do on that line. But you remove the cover for your younger players who need this time because of the unique position Detroit's in to learn the ropes. Like, we see the way ASP's game is managed. You see him disappear for many shifts at a time. You see the pairings around him, and when he's deployed in games, rotate actively. It feels like they have, you know, a whole assistant coach's job, it almost feels like, is to manage ASP shifts. Go look at his shift log if you've never noticed it. Like, he disappears for good stretches. Sometimes it's because he made a mistake and gets sat. Sometimes it's because it's like a high leverage situation, or the opposing matchup that game is just overwhelming him physically, whatever it might be. And when the team is struggling like this, it removes the cover for him. Nate Danielson, I mean, we said he's not exactly lighting the world on fire, and that's okay. It's not, you know, a long-term massive concern with Nate Danielson. He's as green as it gets for a rookie. But when your top line isn't doing anything and your second line is really the only one that's contributing, that puts a lot of pressure on the depth, and those kinds of situations that he's in are no longer as sheltered as the team would like them to be. The downstream effects are hard on the team. And that's not a novel concept. Oh, my first line sucks, so my team is playing worse. Yeah, that would go for all other 31 teams in the league. but especially with how long it's taken for the Red Wings to figure out their 5-on-5 game and then for it to disappear with Larkin and Raymond and Finnie, it's more than just those three guys.
I think ultimately what this is just a message to Larkin and Raymond, right? Like this isn't, yeah, maybe it is a message to other guys that they need to be better. Sure. But I truly believe that this is, you're our best players. You have to be our best players. And if you're not going to do it playing together, we're going to spread you guys out and you're going to try and find your way back to that top line.
So where does Leonard factor in? And then what does that mean long term? Because it could just be a couple games for Leonard, then they send it back down depending on how things go. But what if he comes in and he once again is an important cog? Like, is that they're at 23 players on the roster right now, so they don't need to make a move. But if someone has to go down, is it Danielson or is it another move that could potentially be coming?
Again, we won't know for those 2 games. The thing is, though, they don't have to make another move. They're at 23. This could just be the roster for the rest of the season, right? You do have some flexibility with Danielson and Finnie and ASP if things go really bad and you want to make another change. I thought in his last stint, Leonard looked good. I thought he earned a spot. Given how some of the bottom 6 forwards have been playing, and I'm talking broad view, not just the last 2 games, it's hard to see whose spot he's taking full-time because nobody's been truly awful before these last 2 games where the whole team's been awful. So maybe they just want him up there and they just do start running a true rotation. Who's feeling it right now, who's not. Danielson could use a game or 2. Hey, buddy, just go up to the press box, take the pressure off, watch a game, learn some things. We got this guy to cover for you. You'll be back in a couple games. Reset. Then Rasmussen goes off the rails. Okay, buddy, you go take a reset. It's not a bad thing carrying 14 forwards when you have this many guys who are playing this inconsistent. You look at who's available in Grand Rapids, Leonard's the guy who's earned it. So if he's the full-time solution the rest of the year, great. I got no arguments here. I'm sure he wouldn't mind making the NHL salary for the rest too. Plus, there's the alternative, branching off a point Evan just made about the lineup. This could just be a scare tactic.
Todd loves those.
Yeah, 1 or 2 games. Hey, buddy who's trying to take your job, he's back. Who wants to keep their job? Show me. And if everybody steps up and everything's going good, thanks, John. Mission accomplished. Back to Grand Rapids with you. Go win a championship down there. There's a lot of angles they could take, and that might not be determined yet which path they're going to go. If Leonard plays great the next 2 games and a couple guys still aren't getting it, okay, well, you can't send him back. Or if everybody steps up and it goes, okay, well, we got 14 forwards playing well now. Sorry, man, we're going to send you back before we lose the option. Who knows? Could be a game-by-game decision right now. And either avenue, whichever one they take, I like. It's fine. Both are good. Scare tactic to wake the team up or a guy who's earned a spot. Both have merit.
If I have to make a decision, like pick a path, pick a strategy right now, even though I think there are it's very open-ended right now. I think for me, and I know it would be tough, and you don't know how management feels about this. Like they've got a whole plan set in place for this player, but for me, just the way I've been watching games this year, like I'm strongly considering sending Nate Danielson down. Like, has he looked bad? No. Has he been good in a defensive role? Yeah, he's been just fine, but we're 28 games in for him and he's averaging like 11 minutes of ice a night. Like, do I feel like that's the best approach in terms of a in-game development for Nate Danielson? Probably not. Like, there's lots of things going on behind the scenes. Strength coach, off-ice practice, he's getting pro reps that way. But sometimes I'm just wondering if just going back to Grand Rapids, being the dude on a team that's an absolute wagon, and let's restart next year. Let's start fresh, get back in the lineup and see where you're at. Right now, at the way things sit with him, like if I'm making a decision, like I just think that's the way I'm going.
I don't disagree. And even more so, I feel that way with Axel Sandin-Pellikka. But the problem is, that's a high level. They have no one else to play.
Yeah.
You, the listener, are in for him at that point. Like they have no one else to play on that right side. It's already a problem on the third pair, let alone on the second. So I think he would benefit even more. But that's just such a high leverage position. You can hide Nate Danielson on your fourth line and, play him 11 minutes. But with Sandin-Pellikka, it's like, that's
Buddy, you're playing 18 minutes a game whether you like it or not.
Yeah, we sat you for 5 shifts and you still almost touched 20 minutes kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
It's tough. And that's like the trade-off, right? Like, we were the ones who were saying, graduate the rookies, graduate the rookies, graduate the rookies. Let's see what you have in them. So, and this is the reality of playing in the middle of a long season with that many rookies. You're going to have these conversations. So none of this should be a surprise, and it's not a surprise to the Red Wings, but it's still something you have to face. Because what I think was a surprise for the Red Wings is leading the conference at the turn of the new year, even after the game on January 1st. So you don't throw that away because you're like, okay, we have to consider the long-term vision of this team, and you still do, but you don't just throw away the points you banked. You're like, well, now every game matters even more than we thought it would at this point of the year when we had 3 rookies, on opening night. You're going to have to start to find ways to do that. And that just goes back to our previous conversation, right, on last episode of if Steve Yzerman can add, this is a year to do it for so many reasons. So many reasons. First and foremost, cementing a playoff spot, absolutely. But even just giving some breathing room to your young players would be massive.
I think they are giving him breathing room, though. We've talked about on this episode how all the different ways they're sheltering Sandin-Pellikka despite him playing on the second pair. He doesn't get the high leverage situations at the end of the game all the time. He does sometimes. If he's having a particularly tough night, they will happily sit him. And the thing with ASP too is I don't even think he's not grasping the NHL. I just think he kind of rides his confidence more than other guys. And for his skill set and type of defenseman he is, it makes perfect sense. When he's off, it's not like he's not seeing assignments. It's not like he's not gapping up. It's not like he's not activating at the right time. He's fumbling pucks. He's missing one-timers. He's making mistakes where you can see he's just in his head. And yeah, if he's got to take a couple shifts off to get that back, whatever, it's fine. Obviously they're still in a playoff spot, but at some point you got to take the pill and just eat it with your rookies. You knew putting rookies in the lineup, there were going to be rookie mistakes. Nobody should be surprised when ASP or Finnie or Danielson make a rookie mistake. It's going to happen to every rookie ever. And they've carried 3 rookies this whole season, and they're in a playoff spot, and they've spent time leading the division. They've spent time leading the conference. You can make it work. I will hear a case probably more for Danielson than anybody else he needs to find his offense, and that's not going to happen on the fourth line in Detroit. Sure, but if you're sending him back, he's back for the year. I hate yo-yoing rookies. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Let them get comfortable and develop habits and work. Sandin-Pellikka to me has looked like the 4th best defenseman on the Red Wings all year because he's been the 4th best defenseman on the Red Wings all year.
The competition's fierce.
He's one of the guys where it's like, yeah, he's going to make rookie mistakes, but the talent is there, and what I'm witnessing with my eyes is worth those mistakes from time to time.
Yeah, the pros with Sandin-Pellikka still outweigh the cons, even if the cons at points are laughably bad. It's an undersized rookie defenseman. They're gonna happen. All that to say, you have to still always have an eye on the future, even with this season, because if the Red Wings are to win a Stanley Cup, these guys are going to play important roles. And if they struggle this year to be better next year, so be it. They're learning the grind of an 82-game NHL season. They're better equipped for it next year. Again, it's a little different with Danielson just because I think his offense has always been the biggest question mark, and you can see him not producing any right now. And if he's going to be in and out of the lineup, he's definitely not going to produce any. So maybe you just be like, all right, we're going to go send you back, figure out how to score, see you next September. Fine. I'm less there on ASP and Finnie. I think with the positives they're bringing to the lineup, they should be at the point of developing the NHL routine, schedule, grind. Get that under your system and understand what a playoff run looks like.
Honestly, the most important thing to me right now is that we don't do the usual cycle of asking Rasmussen to play center and then it just throws him off his game and then he's, terrible for a month before finding his game again at wing. Like that's just
No, he's
it never goes well.
He ran off his game at wing and now they're putting him at center, so
maybe that'll fix it. So the Red Wings upcoming, they have the Ottawa Senators on the road Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, and then we will be back with you on Wednesday, so we'll see how that game goes. For now, we're going to take a quick break to hear from the sponsors of the show, and when we're back, more on the Red Wings, specifically Larkin and Raymond, back after this. Something's up with Larkin and Raymond. Raymond especially. I think about that first game against Pittsburgh, and there's so many opportunities where he could have shot the puck and then, tried to cut to the middle or make the extra move or make the extra look when it's like you already reached the end of the lane, like take the shot. And it's been a frustration at points or a want at other points for Lucas Raymond in his young career to shoot more because he can have a really good shot and generally is at his best when he is trusting his shot and using it as a weapon and throwing the opposing defenses off because he has those tools. He's an all-tools guy. But right now, it feels different. Brad, you're the guy who's had the shoulder problems. Right now, I look at Lucas Raymond, and I don't know for sure what it might be, whether it's just confidence or still dealing something with his shoulder. But ever since his shoulder injury early in the season, he hasn't looked the same shooting, and it feels like it's not getting any better at the moment.
I don't know. The way he's playing, it does look like he's protecting it a little bit in the whole, not driving the middle as often. Watching him, I'm getting more of the vibes he's lost his confidence more than anything else, because usually that's the first thing you notice when a player starts deferring a lot in positions where they shouldn't defer. And we've seen him rip some shots this year. It's there. He's just, I don't know. It's confusing right now. And obviously, without seeing a medical report or getting in his head, it's hard to say for sure. The truth is always somewhere in the middle, so it's probably a bit of both. It's probably protecting the shoulder a little bit, and then that's led to him losing a bit of confidence, and the snowball effect starts kicking in. I don't know. He definitely doesn't look like himself. You can still see flashes, but
well, we're going to talk about this as well. Like, doesn't help his centerman is also going through it as well. Like, when one of the big puck movers, the main driver of your lines is also going through we'll call it a confidence situation. Like, it's not good when both those guys are having their problems, and I think one feeds the other for sure.
Just reading some stats out here, and this is from Max Boltman's piece on the Athletic Detroit, which I'll link. But entering Saturday, the Red Wings had been outscored 11-4 at 5-on-5 play with Dylan Larkin on the ice since December 1st. With Raymond, that score was 10-6. And with Finnie, that was 10-4. So all of them heavily negative at 5-on-5, their top line of players. And in terms of 5-on-5 shots on goal, per 60, so this is a per 60 rate, Raymond and Larkin rank 9th and 12th among all Red Wing forwards. Not just players, forwards.
That's not good.
And that's a per 60 rate. So you can say, oh, but they play a bunch of power play. Right. But that's all, everything is normalized. So, you are ranking behind guys like Rasmussen and Leonard and Copp and just in creating shots on goal. It doesn't even matter whether they went in or not. Like, it's not even a cold streak. Like, there's no generation of offense here. And it's hard, right? Like, we talked about it in previous episodes. You almost are about to tweet something or bring it up on the show, but the Red Wings had this big win and the power play was a big part of it. And Larkin and Raymond have still been getting their points on the power play kind of thing. But as we said previously, it's an 82-game season, soon to be an 84-game season. These kinds of things aren't sustainable, and the 5-on-5 play can't fall off. Just one of the guys, sure, but the fact that it's both of them, Finnie didn't stand a chance. And it could be, part of it could be Finnie, sure, but it doesn't absolve those two from having a lot to shoulder with this drought.
And no offense to Emmitt Finnie, I don't think he's going to be the guy to spark those two. Like, he's up there out of necessity, and that's like, I'm making it sound like an anti-Emmitt Finnie thing. It's not at all, but he's not that like high-end
first-line
guy who can just like bring his line mates online. So yeah, it's tough right now. Like, I don't know what they got to do, but sometimes just putting pucks on net, even if it's not the right decision, can just start to get the wheels going a little bit. You start to see, pucks get to the net. You start to create some rebounds, create some chaos. You get Finnie in front, right in there. Maybe that's something they need to do, but yeah, it's concerning right now for sure.
Yeah, if it's more confidence than injury related, then yeah, absolutely. They have to see pucks go in. And they just have to see it's the answer to so much of this is when it's not going your way and you really can't figure it out and you feel lost and disconnected from the other four guys on the ice, just boil everything down to fundamentals.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how the lineup changing shakes things up for sure. But then there's also the very valid concern of you already have a good amount of games played, but you still have a month of hockey left before the Olympics kick in. Those are important games.
Both those players are going to the Olympics to play big minutes for their countries.
100%. They're not going to be nothing players. And the Red Wings are going to need them on the other side of that in February.
And we saw how that went last year.
It's not unfair. Like, call anyone, a Larkin hater or whatever it might be. But Larkin falling off after the Four Nations was one of the biggest reasons why the Red Wings missed the playoffs last year. Plain and simple.
And I think people might misconstrue what we're talking about right now as like us being Debbie Downers. I think we're all beyond thrilled with how the season's gone so far. We're just calling out some things that have caught our eyes that are of concern.
Oh, yeah.
That if this team wants to make the playoffs and be a playoff team, these things have to be resolved sooner rather than later.
Eventually, they're all going to start compounding. The Red Wings have been lucky to this point where Larkin's line falls off right as the DeBrincat Kane line starts ascending. And, you see those ebbs and flows where now all of a sudden if that line starts floundering, you're in trouble. The Larkin line will have to get it back together. Because again, as much as you want to say the bottom six has definitely been better than we expected, you cannot rely on them. And so both of the top lines really start to crumble. It's a problem. So, maybe this year's the opposite of last year. Maybe the Olympics come around and that's what gets Larkin and Raymond going. They get fired up. They get into some intense games and they come back with their hair on fire. And it's the universe's penance for screwing us last year.
Dylan Larkin gets to play with top leading goal scorer, American goal scorer, Jason Robertson, gets to see how the pucks go in the net. Yeah, it'll be no problem whatsoever.
Hold the phone.
He's actually playing in Detroit. Dallas is going to make the trade.
That's right. Yeah, Dallas is slumping right now. But yeah, I mean, it could be. And that's like the reason this is brought up isn't just because we've watched it year after year after year. It's also because this is now the reality of every other year. There's going to be some kind of international hockey calling at this time in, the middle of the season to go give your time and your game and your blood, sweat, and tears to, and then you come back to your NHL team who hopefully is making a playoff push all of those seasons. So these guys haven't been doing this, but they have to learn.
50% of the Red Wings defense could be on their national teams.
Oh God, yeah. If we have our way, maybe even more if they trade for someone.
Like, I don't think I would bet money that ASP at some point plays for Team Sweden. I always knew Edvinsson had an outside shot this year, but seeing the Swedish defensive group, like there's some veteran players and some players I think Edvinsson's much better than.
Yeah.
But, this problem, or I say problem, but for them, it's like a lifetime achievement to play for their country. This has only become more of a prominent talking point for the Red Wings going forward.
Do you not think Travis Hamonic's making it for Team Canada? Or
I heard he's in the testing protocol.
Man, Edvinsson, by the numbers, I think Dom Lucian put out, like by the numbers, was maybe the biggest snub of the entire Olympic roster process for all teams.
It's nice to know that other hockey nations' selection committees also make
mistakes.
Like very simple mistakes.
There were big issues with each of Canada, the US, and Sweden, which is nice to know because now we're going in on a level playing field.
Well, I still can't get over Team USA. I mean, we talked about it with the projected roster last episode, and ever since it actually has come out that way.
Man, there are a lot of people who should be lawyers because people were coming out with some strong evidence for Jason Robertson. Not that it needed to be said, but man, people were coming with receipts this week.
So at the Winter Classic, Rangers, Florida, they had a pregame ceremony where the U.S. Olympians from both teams were honored pregame, and not just the players. It was Mike Sullivan, David Quinn, then obviously Trocheck, JT Miller, Seth Jones, Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk put an American flag around Seth Jones's shoulders, and Adam Fox is watching this. Dude, that is brutal.
He's signing his Canadian citizenship papers as we speak.
That's 10 times worse than Skinner watching Draisaitl and the entire Oilers celebrate 1,000 points in his crease.
Absolutely.
If I'm Adam Fox, I am texting Drury my trade request from the dressing room at the next intermission.
I'm walking in with a mask of Marty St. Louis' face.
Well, it makes it even worse because they clearly don't care.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're like, oh, like he wasn't one of our best options on defense, which is a concern that people think that way. But it's just not even in their realm of thought, it feels like.
There was one interview where there's a line, and I know when things are written down, it's not exactly the same as when they were spoken, but there's a line or something like, what you have to understand is like, this is the best of the best that make these teams. I'm like, God,
no, it's not. Maybe if you're, no offense, like Slovakia or like Slovenia, it's like Anze Kopitar is the 1C for Slovenia for the next 30 years if he wants it. That's not the case with the biggest hockey nations.
Did you see the story of Hughes talking about, after he got hurt, who one of his first phone calls was from?
No.
It was Team USA GM Bill Guerin, who just called to reassure him and say, hey, you're in a good place. No worries. How are you? Don't sweat it. Focus on your recovery.
Oh my God.
I've had my criticisms of Billy Guerin, buddy, tampering under the guise
There's no tampering.
of being the Olympic GM. That's 5D chess. And the fact that Jack says, yeah, it means a lot to me. He was one of the first ones to call. If I'm a Devils fan, there is not an unpunched piece of drywall in my house.
It's the biggest like Uno reverse ever because Devils fans were convinced that Quinn Hughes would be a New Jersey Devil. And now Bill Guerin's getting involved and like, wait a sec, this was our card to play.
How everything has changed since then.
Can't wait. It's going to be great.
Bill Guerin, man. Thanks for the entertainment, dude. I take back most of the things that I've said. You're not boring. I'll give you that much. All right, let's get into the piece of NHL news that everyone's talking about right now, which is, I think, if you had a blind vote, how many players in the league do you think would accept the offer of you're suspended for one game and you get to punch Brady Tkachuk, hit him right in the button, and drop him?
I think most people would say, you can give me 2.
It's got to be more than 10 players, right?
How many players are in the NHL, roughly? Don't need an exact number.
700.
699. Brady wouldn't punch himself. I think Matthew would even punch him.
I think Matthew has a lot by the looks of both of them. That was funny as hell. Logan Stanley and Brady Tkachuk are getting into it. It looks like they're going to go.
Brady started it.
As
Logan Stanley was in the Senators bench.
Steve Dangle on Twitter brought up a great point. Should anybody ever sucker punch someone when they're not looking? The answer is probably no. You don't do that. But at the same time, if you're going to consistently start stuff, throw out a little bit of a cheap shot, not anything egregious, but you're going to do what Brady did. And then you're going to grab him by the collar, fighting stance, and then turn your head away like you're not interested in it. You have reasonable expectation of getting punched there. So do I feel bad for Brady for getting punched there? No, he deserved it 1,000%. Do I think that a sucker punch deserves a 1-game suspension? Also, yes. Can't let that become a precedent because that's a very slippery slope. Even
only
if it was
one game to sucker punch, guys? Oh my God, we see it all the time.
Yeah, so did Brady deserve it? Yes. Was the suspension justified? Yes. A lot of things can be true at the same time here.
I was actually kind of surprised, and it is a good thing. Like, you can just like every part of this process as a neutral fan, from the suspension to make sure guys aren't out there suckering other guys to the actual suckering itself, because it was Brady Tkachuk for sure. But I was surprised that they got that right, because they just got done not giving Brad Marchand anything for drilling Mike Matheson in the head with his elbow. Like, not even a hearing. Didn't even get the fine. They said, keep your money. You're going to need it for the festivities. But I don't know. The Department of Player Safety this year has not been doing a lot to throw off the accusations of people saying they're biased for Florida. Not that this had anything to do with Florida, but I'm just saying, like, they're taking a lot of heat right now. So they did get the one game right. I'll give them that much.
Sure.
The best part about this was all the people pointing out stats after the incident. Like, Logan Stanley has more goals than Brady Tkachuk this year. Noted goal scorer, never scored more than one per season in his career until this year, Logan Stanley.
Brady Tkachuk missed, how many games did he miss? He missed like 20-odd games, right?
Yeah, but it's Logan Stanley.
Look, man, that should have counted as a secondary assist or something. That was funny as hell. All right, and now over to the World Juniors. Prefacing this by saying Finland and Sweden are in overtime right now. Scores 3-3, 3 minutes, 40 seconds left in overtime. So we'll see how that one ends up. The other semifinal matchup, not the USA, Canada, Czechia in that matchup. That's going to take place in about an hour from our time here. So the big story, Finland takes out the Americans in overtime. The host nation is shocked, and Canadian listeners will know too the pains of going out in the quarters as the host nation, like yet another tournament where a massive upset like that happens.
I wouldn't even call it a massive upset. An upset, yes. But this wasn't a strong age group for the States. Obviously, they had the wagon for the last couple of years, back-to-back champions, Trey Augustine in net, and the group of goalies that they had to choose from for this one was not inspiring, and that reared its head. Losing Max Plant to injury early in the tournament certainly didn't help. And even beyond that, they were not a loaded roster. They were good. They were deep. They could have definitely competed. But I think most people going into the tournament ranked Sweden and Canada as the favorites because it's just stronger age groups for them. And we'll see how the overtime with Sweden plays out. Canada's got Czechia soon. So I would say it's disappointing for the States, but not massively surprising. They really needed to do better in the round robin to get a more favorable quarterfinal matchup, because this was always the risk for them.
Playing Finland in the quarterfinals, akin to playing Czechia, is not a good matchup. Those teams always play greater than the sum of their parts. The U.S. had to score a late goal to even send it to overtime. Like, Finland hangs around in every single tournament, whether it be World Juniors, World Championship, Olympic hockey. Like,
Some.
Yeah, exactly. They play for their country. And yeah, if I'm the United States, seeing Finland in the quarterfinals would have immediately made me super nervous.
And as Red Wings fans, we're biased for Sweden here, at least a little bit, because Eddie Genborg continues to be one of the stories for that team, has a primary assist, had what was go-ahead goal before the Finns tied it in the third, and that's just in this game alone. So he continues to have a really strong tournament. But all in all, yeah, I think that, like, credit to the Finns. That's a tough draw for the Americans in the quarter. It's not like, the Canadians just tuned up Slovakia. What was it, 7-1 by the end of it?
Was not a close game.
No. And that was with TJ Ginla not converting on like 15 different breakaway opportunities.
Michael Misa actively stopped a TJ Ginla goal. This literally it was an open net, and Misa's stick hit the puck when Ginla shot it, and it deflected into the corner.
That's what I do to my buddies in Rocket League when we're drunk and we're already winning the game. I just start playing defense for the other team.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how the quarters go. And tough. Did you guys know about the rule where the host nation gets to make one move to the groupings before the tournament?
I found that out when I found out that Canada got moved to the other group because the States requested it.
Yeah. Which, objectively, probably for the sake of your competitive tournament, the right call. Any tournament where you don't get the New Year's Eve Canada-US game, though, is a travesty in my mind. It doesn't even feel like New Year's Eve.
No, I agree.
Well, didn't work out this time. We'll see how the rest of the tournament goes, though. We're going to take another quick break here, and when we're back, the final segment on this episode of the Wing Wheel Podcast, back after this.
We're going to overtime.
Overtime is brought to you by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast. If you want to support the show, you get access to the bonus overtime episodes, the Discord, the giveaways, Evan's home address and phone number if I like you enough.
He can come babysit. That's perfect.
That's great. I saw what you were doing with Sullivan, the little pedestal balancing thing.
That's right. That's our party trick.
Big hit with Catherine, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, big time. I can't wait to show it off to my parents.
Can you do a flip yet?
Oh, we're working on it, you know? Baby steps.
I do want to be there the first time you flip him in front of Catherine.
Oh, we're getting there.
Again, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast. And this whole show's made possible by our patrons, as are things like Winged Wheel Podcast Nights in partnership with the Detroit Red Wings and the Grand Rapids Griffins. All of those, we don't get paid. When you buy tickets, the donations that get made that aren't to the organizations are to the Jamie Daniels Foundation. So it doesn't come back to us, which is how it should be. But our patrons are the ones that allow us to run those events. So thank you to our patrons. Let's take some questions from them now. Motown Seider says, now that Seider and Edvinsson are becoming elite, will it be easier or harder to get an elite defenseman to come over like Quinn Hughes or Werenski, since they should need to share the glory with Mo? You have to imagine it's the simplest answer here. The better the team, the more likely it is that you're going to get better players. Like, I think there are few situations, they exist, but very few situations where you would actually box out a guy from coming because he's like, what would my role be?
If Zach Werenski looked at the Red Wings, assuming the Red Wings make the playoffs this year, and go, wow, they're a pretty good team, and you're telling me that Seider guy's going to take all the tough matchups, which means I get easier matchups? Yeah, sign me up for that.
It's also like with defensemen, they will play the 27 plus minutes because they need to. I think they would be much happier to be paid what they're paid and say, I have 1.5 to 2, elite pairs. And so I can get away with playing 23, 24 minutes a night. And then come playoffs, you have a lot more guys who are a lot more rested with way fewer miles. Eric Asmus says, whether PK Subban's opinion should be taken with a big grain of salt is its own question, but he did suggest yesterday that Steve Yzerman should be looking for a 2C because Copp is a 3C. Am I wrong to think he is right, but that Steve Yzerman is planning/hoping that Kasper or Danielson are the 2C answer, thus doesn't want to make a trade yet?
I think it's been not public. Steve Yzerman doesn't put anything out there public, but widely known, theorized, hypothesized, talked about, chatted about that the Red Wings needed 2C.
Yeah.
Isn't every single team essentially looking for a bona fide 2C?
There's way fewer teams that have one than those who don't, right? It's like top pair right shot defenseman. Everyone wants one.
Yeah.
And as the league adds more teams, it's only going to grow more and more. So
you hope Kasper or Danielson becomes one of those guys, but I guarantee you, if someone picked up the phone and called Steve Yzerman right now and said, I have a 2C available to you, he's going to take it.
Yeah, it's even like at the end of the day, it's the NHL. If you have an opportunity to add a good player in a trade that makes sense, you're not going to not do it because it's like, oh, I'm not looking for this position right now. There's so few positions where the Red Wings are fully set. I can't actually think of one where you wouldn't take the trade if it came to you. Maybe like let's say you had an elite number one right shot defenseman that wanted to come over. Great. That's what we just talked about.
Adam Fox.
That's the second pair right there. Congratulations. Jeremy Dahl says, I appreciate Detroit losing to Pittsburgh so Pittsburgh can't get Gavin McKenna. I just don't want the Penguins or Vancouver to get one of the top 3 picks. With how Kasper has been and how Cousins has been, should Detroit have made the trade? I don't think when Buffalo didn't make a Cousins and Kasper involved trade back then that they were necessarily, waiting on Detroit. I think it was the other way around, and I think Buffalo was kind of frozen with a few offers on the table. And I don't know how long that Kasper was actually on the table or just involved in discussions or that was the ask. As of right now, sure. Yeah, you can say you wish that trade would have happened, but you wouldn't have said that at this point last year. So who's to say what you'll think in 6 months, I would wait a little bit before making those conclusions. Finny the Pooh says, with the ugly 5-on-5 numbers from the top line in the last month, any chance Dallas can't make a Robertson extension work? Or does the rising cap basically mean salary is no longer a factor in retaining players? So is Robertson a potential answer if Detroit can get him?
Don't give me hope. We've we've been down this path before. He's not going anywhere.
You don't think so?
Look at what Florida just did with just a little rise in the cap. You're telling me with how much it's going up, Dallas can't make this work? That'd be a generational fumble.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's like, it's been proven that if you just pay the guys who've been proven to be elite, even if they had a down year, or even if you have to make some other painful moves, they're adding more teams than there are, elite players being added to the free agency pool every year. You can't afford to let them go. They could. We've seen GM do dumb things, but if Detroit could add a, top line left wing to their mix for free, that'd be great. Or even in a trade. I just don't think it's likely at all. At Real Steve Eisman says Connor McDavid recently went back to his very old skate model. He's also been flipping back and forth to a very old stick model. Crosby is still using an absolutely ancient stick model, and McKinnon was using a barely newer model until a year ago. As stick tech changes, the manufacturing process must change as well. Carbon layups, etc. Do CCM and Bauer hang on to old manufacturing processes just for star players, or do they create a massive stockpile for them before they retire an old manufacturing process?
I've heard both before. It depends on the company, depends on the stick, depends on the situation. Something like a skate, you can always custom build. So that one's easy solution. Sticks, Mike Green actually has the funniest story about that. When Bauer bought out Easton, I forget which one it was, but I think it was one of the old Easton Stealth models. Mike Green loved it. He got hundreds of, as many as he could get his hands on, and he just rode them. Even though Easton had been out of business for a while, he was still using them. And I remember when he broke the last one in Detroit, it was an actual story. And he eventually then was forced to try something new.
Because fans were sending them to him, right?
He was getting them anywhere he could get them. It was a whole process.
He's on eBay, trying to outbid people for them.
There's been golfers who have done that where they're like, I love this year's whatever, and I don't have any more tour models left. The truck's like, this was from 2016, let it go kind of thing. And they're like, yeah, I bought one on eBay. And then they would put that out on Twitter, and fans would be like, I'll give you mine in exchange for whatever, you know? So hang on to those old clubs. You might just, end up helping someone win the Masters or something. And you get a signed ball in return, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't have any use for my clubs. You can have it.
What, the wear pattern in the sweet spot, basically untouched.
If you're cool with a few top marks, a lot of sky marks. There's, I think one of the Bryan Bros used the Rogue ST Max driver head, and he was like, oh, I want this. They don't Callaway doesn't have any more to send me. I have to go get one on eBay. And I looked at mine. I'm like, there is no cleaner sweet spot than the one sitting on my
pristine.
Oh, it's magical. But I had that weird alignment mark that looked like a bunch of range ball scuffs on the top. So
it's a rite of passage.
Yeah, he didn't get mine. Jan says, frustrated with the Red Wings, please join me in my side quest for the rest of the season. Rooting for the Senators to somehow win the lottery and forfeit a top 3 pick due to the Dadonov trade shenanigans. I know they should be too good for that, but through spite and bad goaltending, anything is possible.
Oh, that would be hilarious. That would chicken soup for my tortured soul.
I still think that was a little bit of a ridiculous situation with the lack of a proper registry. But at the end of the day, the rules are the rules, and that would be, it would be another pick that wouldn't go to the Atlantic, so that'd be nice, but it would be funny. Garrett says, given that Danielson may be the odd man out for now and MBN is playing well in Grand Rapids, would it be worth swapping them for a bit? Or better to just let MBN ride out the season with some momentum in Grand Rapids?
It's going well for him there. Don't screw with it. Again, I don't like yo-yoing prospects, especially in their first pro year or pro North American year.
I think the only way I'll disagree is it really depends on what the coaches down there are seeing. Are they seeing a meaningful change in his game through what he's improving in practice and what they're having him work on? And, is there a material difference in how he's playing? If yes, and he's making big strides, then I'm actually in favor of it. But if they're like, well, he still has the same kind of foot speed and decision-making time that he had when he came down here, it's just that the game slowed down in the AHL, then I'd be in favor of, keeping him down, like Brad said. So I'm a little bit more situationally inclined there. He'd love to be up.
I'm sure
those guys, they don't hate to be yo-yo. They want to be up with the team. As long as it's not just to sit in the press box, then whatever. But Oh, and like that, Sweden wins in the shootout. So
Extra innings, extra shooters.
8th round Frondell on his 3rd attempt.
I love that.
3rd time's a charm.
I love that about, I do kind of want to go back to when the shootouts almost never happened in the NHL or didn't happen at all, and all you ever see it in is international tournaments. It made them special.
Yeah.
You get the TJ Oshie thing where he just goes a bunch of times. Like, that's fun. All right, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. Don't forget, January 17th, Winged Wheel Podcast night with the Grand Rapids Griffins, griffinshockey.com/WWP, the live show, the Griffins game, the signed puck, all of that and lots more. Patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast if you want to support the show. And if you want to help us out, but Patreon's not for you, that's totally okay. Just wherever you're getting this podcast, subscribe, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it may be. And as always, to our name level supporters on Patreon, we cannot thank you enough. Arjun Shanker, Aikfer, THL Champ, Samuel Soderholm, Glenn Brabham, Rain Dano, Below Average Ball Hockey Goalie, Darb EQ, Matthew M. Rice, Sea Lion, Detroit Style, Deep Dish, Seider, Bingo Bango, Hassam Al-Qassem, Asher Killian, Kaylin Wood, Alex Toger. That's what I appreciate about you. Derek Enstam, Matt McKay, Andy Hardcore, Sam Bankson, Citizen High Five, RA, Aaron Hudson, Admiral Matt S. at the Cheesebag Navy, The El Cato, Stephen Ortlieb, Jonathan Miller, Give Blood Fight Probert, DJ Denton, Carl Bertina Nanowski, Jay Gollum, John Ingalls, CB55, Connor Scovey, Adam Zuiza, Adam Rose, I Miss Pew Suter, Steve R, Hockeytown Matt, Mr. Kuzi, Chaotic Monkey, Craig Kibble, Eyes Are Playing Stan, Clip Clop, Nene, Podgy 713, Unapologetic, Gibson Truther, Griffin Knott from Grand Rapids, Marty, Kazi the OG13, Jeff Pridemore, Eric Hill, Butts Carlton, Best James Bond, Beer League Legend, Alec, Mark Hernandez, Slim Smitty Cards, Grand Rapids Girly, Anna Sleeman, William, Mike Asher, August, Brian Munn, Improved But Flawed, Chris 99 Jones, Putting on the Moritz, Trevor Centerfit, Adams Red Wings Takes, Adam Ernie Slander, General Andy Bohan of the Cheesebag Army, Quaz, Dylan Larkin Trade Sacrifice, 2026 is the year of the Moose, Matt Keeler, Linda Hull, Connor Leighton, Oz Good, Better, Best, Jeremiah Dobo, Josh Yelton, Brad Simmons, Darren Fick, Bex, The Hodag, Daddy Pastor Jake, The Kneeling for Prayer and Other Devotional Activities, Maximilian, Commander Ben Bear in the Cheesebag Space Force, welcome back, Maximilian, Sandin-Pellikka's Pet Pelican, Griffey Boy, JM Rhapsody, Frank Stanley, Rosie Posey, That Other Guy, Pucking, Puck, Carl Thames, Nerno, The Hat 123, Stephen A. Ron, Corey Prida, All Motor No Hands, Gene Sullivan, Gert Frobe, James Pridemore, Upernadian, Drop the Puck, Eric Nance, Ann Stanislavski, Jim, Bellingham Massive Balls, our good friend Wings fan in St. Louis, Scott, Lucas Raitmond, Cops, Bubba Gump Lip, Trent Thorough, Grepsky, Evan Beckner, Return of Jambo, C.E. Hayes, Finney to the Rafters, Jacob Marsh, Falkness, Fight Night at the Joe, Axel's Sandy Pelican, The Octopi's Ninth Leg, Finney the Pooh, and your second favorite patron. Thank you all so very much. We will talk to you Wednesday.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to visit wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find ways to support the show, like Patreon, official podcast merchandise, and more. And don't forget to follow us on X at Winged Wheel Pod, at Ryan Hanna, WWP, at Brad Crisco, and at Hockeytown Evan, as well as Winged Wheel Podcast on Instagram.